sexiest thing in the entire world is being really smart.
Welcome to Smart is Sexy, the podcast where we discuss self-development, love, growth, business, spirituality, and becoming a smarter, sexier human. I am your host, Kelsi.
And I'm Celeste. Welcome to our show, y'all. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, leave us a review, and send us to a friend. Today's episode is sponsored by Awaza. Awaza is an innovative functional coffee formula that aims to do more than just wake you up. It propels you upward and forward through your daily grind to help you achieve your goals. It's made with clean ingredients, keeping us both smart and sexy. Use code SMARTISSEXY for 20% off when you order online at drinkawaza.com.
You guys, today we are discussing green flags and navigating new relationships because, plot twist, we're both in a relationship.
Yeah, it's new.
Yes.
It's new. But also, I also wanted to talk about green flags because I feel like the social media trend is always red flags. Like I always see, oh, what's red flags, red flags, red flags. So
but there's actually a lot of really good men out there that we can talk about some green flags.
Well, and I think it's important to know what green flags are so that you know, like, oh, this is good. I should keep going this direction.
Yes.
Okay.
But first, good news minute. I got the coolest new North Face puffer jacket.
The brown one?
I got the brown one. It is a cropped North Face puffer. Yeah. And because I spend so much time in Utah now, it's freezing cold there. Yeah. This week it has snowed 4 times. Yeah. It's only October. So I'm like in for a real treat. So I got the new brown North Face puffer and it's very cute.
It's so cute. I honestly want to get it too.
And I also got a black beanie, even though.
You got a beanie?
I got a beanie. Even though, you guys, I don't wear beanies, and I think they're the cutest things. Like, I think you look so cute in a beanie, but I, without fail, I just always look like a penis. It's so sad. It's so unfortunate. But every time I wear one, I think, wow, no, I have like a penis shape going on. And I want to not because I think they're really cute.
They're so cute. And you could have got earmuffs instead if you just needed like your head to be warm.
No, I know, but like it's not just your ears, like your whole head, like
because
your head gives off a lot of heat, right?
So it's like 70% of your warmth or something.
Yeah, your feet and your feet and your head, like you have to warm those two things up before, like, so the heat stays in. Which makes sense, like top bottom, we're gonna seal the heat in,
compress the heat.
But so I bought a beanie. Even though, so man's just gonna look at me and he's gonna think, oh man, you look like a penis.
Let's hope he doesn't look at you and think
well,
that.
now that he listens to this, he's gonna be like, well, that's all I'm gonna see.
Yeah, now he's not gonna be, now you can't wear it in front of him.
But I did buy a beanie.
Okay.
And my cute North Face jacket. I'm just really excited.
That North Face is really cute. I honestly want it. The cropped one is so cute.
I'm gonna show everyone a pic when I get it. Yeah. I'm gonna debut
Post it on the IG.
Yeah. What's yours?
Okay, mine is that we're officially in the best season of the year, Scorpio season. Top tier.
So you can tell a lot about a person. And then like when you find out that they're like when they put Scorpio season in any like Instagram post caption, you're like, that makes a lot of sense.
What are you talking about?
There's a vibe that you get from Scorpios.
You think so?
And then so when they say that they're like when they announce the world,
like an angelic vibe, like Scorpios, the angels among us.
She's literally proving my point as we're having this conversation.
I'm just
saying. Are proving my point.
I just was wondering what the vibe
There's
was.
a vibe you get from Scorpios. It's just like it's like
heaven on earth.
It is a princess nightmare devil Satan vibe.
Okay.
Like I might ruin your life.
Well, no. I'm a good Scorp. I have a halo over my head.
And I think all Scorpions say that.
Okay. Well, that's my good news minute. Welcome to Scorpio season. It is top tier. It's our cozy season. Fall is the superior season anyways. We've discussed this.
Absolutely. I could not agree more.
You have Scorpio time, which is great. So that's my good news minute 1. And then my second good news minute is that I recently became a Pilates princess, which is where you just go to Pilates. And so the reason I even started taking Pilates is because girls on Twitter were calling themselves a Pilates princess. And I was like, wow, I want to be a princess.
I had no idea that was a thing.
Well, that's because you don't live and die by Twitter the way that I do. Okay. Also, big news, Elon took over Twitter. So it's like, it's just like,
what did he say today? Comedy is back.
Yeah, he said living the dream. Comedy is now legal again on Twitter. Elon gets a lot of hate. I love Elon, so
I do too.
But so anyways, I love Twitter, and yeah, the girls were calling themselves a Pilates princess, and so I was like, well, I want to be a Pilates princess. So I started taking Pilates literally only for that reason and for no other reason. That.
But
I say it all the time.
Yes, you do. You do say it all the time. I would like to tell the fans that you have also purchased a leotard, a scrunchie that ties into a bow, and you've bought like 18 different pairs of Pilates socks that look like ballerina shoes.
So I purposely bought the ones that look like ballet shoes. I bought like the leotard bodysuit and then like the bow scrunchie.
So we're all gonna now, because I purchased my North Face jacket. Yeah, we're all going to need to see you debut that full fit.
Yeah, because I was just like, oh, I'm gonna buy like the whole fit.
I love it for you, and I would like
my little Pilates princess era.
I want to see it.
Yeah. Okay.
We're all dying to see it.
Yeah, I bought those. I'm trying to think if I bought anything else. Oh, and then I bought like a matching set from Aloe also, just for like
the Pilates princess vibe.
Yeah, the vibe.
That makes sense.
You know.
Okay. I understand.
We're just here for the vibes.
We are here.
That's it. I'm sure there's real benefits. I'm just here for the vibe.
There is no difference. When I bought my tennis outfit, still have not played tennis. Yeah. But I have picked up golf. Okay. And my golf and my tennis fit can segue into golf. So there is no difference.
So anyways, I guess I'm technically not even doing Pilates. I'm doing Legree, which is like if you ask anybody, they're going to tell you that it's so different than Pilates. They're going to be like, it is not the same. But it is like very similar.
Very the same. It's like there's more resistance on the Legree.
Yeah, it's harder.
It's
like Pilates on steroids.
Yeah, it's like a reformer, but it's not a reformer.
It's a
mega former.
People get very, very serious about this.
They do get very serious. I did take a class with you. Yeah. I am not going to call myself a Pilates princess. Okay. I don't feel like I'm on the level that you're at.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
I feel like you and your Pilates princess gang, you guys are on a different level. And so I feel like that's me posing.
Anytime somebody calls me when I'm like on my way, I'm like, can't talk being a princess, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'll be back.
I'm sure is in love with this whole new vibe.
Oh yeah. I mean, he just thinks it's very fitting for me to just act that way. But yeah. So anyways, that's my good news minute. That's what the girls were doing. That's what I did. Now if anybody else becomes a Pilates princess, I would love to hear about it. So
we would all love
gang.
Oh. We just took this in a weird direction. Okay.
Anyways, you guys, so the other night, Kels and I were talking about types. Like, you know how everyone, like, when you date somebody, you're like, oh, are they your type?
Or what's your type when you haven't been dating anybody for a long time and maybe someone wants to set you up. People often ask you the question of like, what's your type? Yeah. And then you rattle off a lot of things about the way people look.
Yeah, no, true. So we wanted to talk about types.
And how they are a load of crap.
Yeah, because honestly, like, I mean, I was a big
type gal.
I was a big type gal. Yeah, I was typecasting all the men in my life.
I was typecasting them for you. Yeah, and with you.
Every guy I dated was just like a replica of each other. Yes, and then
including the way they treated you and the way how educated they were.
The way they dressed, the way they looked,
and I mean how uneducated they were.
Okay. Well, we're firing shots.
Yeah. Hopefully, none of your exes listen to this because I just fired some shots.
I think that all my exes have me blocked.
They don't want to be sexy, which means that they're not smart.
Yeah, but they also all have me blocked, and it's like that seems so dramatic because like y'all should be blocked. Why am I the one? I didn't block any of them. They all blocked me.
Sometimes. When we have to like look at what's going on and when we're the common denominator and all.
Yeah, but in this case it doesn't work because I'm like, I did nothing wrong.
Listen, I don't like rave about your exes.
Yeah. I mean,
you have some accountability. You need to hold some accountability.
But the blocking is so ridiculous. And then they'll like unblock me and block me as they see fit. It'll be like a year later, and half of them are like
extreme.
still deciding.
I do agree with that.
They'll unblock me, and then a year later they'll block me again, and it's like, come on, we gotta all just move on.
Is that potentially like a girlfriend thing? Is like not?
I have no idea. This happens all the time. I'm like, you guys, I don't know how I had anything to do with your blocking. I haven't spoken to any of you. You know, it's just a weird time.
Okay.
Anyways,
all right.
Back to the types. So we were talking about how we typecast, or like we say what's our type, and then we were thinking about how like so many times people end up with someone and they're like, oh my god, they're not your type at all.
Yes, and this isn't to say that that's like always what happens, but I do think that like when you hear people talk about like their actual soulmate or their person, a lot of times it is not someone who they would have ever imagined themselves ending up with. I can tell you right now, I never in a million years thought I'm going to date and want to marry someone who's living in Utah and super conservative. That was not on my list of things that I thought, that sounds like a dream. But
like things like fly out the window, you know.
Yes. And I really feel strongly that there's a lot of things that you think are super important, because I am that girl. What's the meme? It's like,
oh, when it's like, that could never be me, signed, a bitch that it could be.
That is me. That is me, because there are so many things that I have said. I've been, before I met, I'm going to say his name because I never say his name.
You have to call him Mans.
Okay, Mans. We'll keep him Mans. I'm not even trying to keep him a secret.
Everybody knows him as Mans.
So when I met, like before I met Mans, I had been single for about 9.5 years. And I had dated very casually, and I dated a lot of really flawed characters. And so when I met him, I was definitely not looking to be in a relationship. We were like on the, work was going great. We were taking off after the pandemic. I was definitely not looking for anyone. And then when I met him, I resisted a lot of things. I told you, I was like, this is never going to work. I told family, I was like, I told him, I was like, this is never going to be a thing. I don't know what we're even doing. There were several times I told him, after this weekend, I'm going to be done liking you. So like, you should probably get on the same page.
That is like so crazy that she was just out here saying that.
Yeah. Cause now I'm like wildly obsessed with him, because now I'm like, if I haven't heard from him in 2 hours, I'm like, WID.
Yeah.
You just
like
forgot
TBT
about me?
to you saying that.
Wild. And he laughs about it all the time. He's like, yeah, now that is definitely not the case. But I think that there are a lot of things that we keep ourselves in boxes for. And I think we miss out on a lot of really great people because we're like, oh, I have a type. Or, oh, there's a lot of like my non-negotiables. But your non-negotiables are very different when you're single versus when you're in an actual relationship that's healthy and normal, because there's a lot of toxicity that goes on from, previous relationships. And I think it's great to just obviously have your boundaries, but also keep an open mind.
Well, I think too, your non-negotiables have to be like 5 things, because I mean you had a list of 100, and so that was like that you're like 98, and so I think that was a bit extreme.
It was a bit much.
I mean, and then I remember you stood by it, and you were like, no, because this is what I need. And I was like, you know what?
But we evolve.
No, and I loved it for you, because I was like, she knows what she wants. But when you have 98 things that go into forming your type, I think that, you have to...
And I own it. I am the girl who was like, you should have never said
funny.
Never, and you should have never made a list quite like that.
Amazing.
And that being said, Mans does fit so many of the really important things.
So that's
what
I was going to say.
List.
It's like really what's about, like, it's like the important stuff. But yeah, so because, I always dated the same type of guy. I always had like a specific type. And you're right. It really, that when we say that, it really has to do with looks. And then I met somebody and I thought he was so hot, like off the bat. I was like, oh my God, he is so fire. But he just wasn't my typical type in the sense that he's actually a lot better than my typical type.
So much better than your typical type.
But, just different. And I was like, but I was really attracted to him from the beginning. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, maybe, you don't look like my exes. But
which is not a bad thing.
No, and remember at the beginning, I was like, I couldn't tell if he was interested in me. But I was like,
and then I just told you no one wants to be your friend that bad.
Yeah. Well, either way, from the beginning, I was like, okay, he's not I think it's just because I know, because I have a type and I know that I am my
Their
type's type.
Yeah.
You know
That
what I
makes
mean?
sense.
So I know, like, when I was dating like a very similar type of guy, I knew like you were my aesthetic and I was yours. Like I just knew, you know? So with him, I was like, wow, I think this guy is so hot.
I just love that you used the word aesthetic.
Yeah, well, I'm just
to
trying
describe
to be,
your look.
just, you know, I thought this guy was so hot, but I just didn't know if I was going to be his type because I was like, you know, we're not, I don't know, it was a little different. But anyways, so anytime now, like, girlfriends of mine meet him, they're like, oh, this is like so new for you and whatever. And I'm like, and it's so much better. And I think it really did make me realize, like, your type really can be just a bunch of bullshit.
Yes. So I think that when we base there's obviously lots of people that you're going to be attracted to in life, someone who is your type or not your type. But I think that we have to change what our type means. So my type is someone who communicates really well. My type is someone who is really nice to me and supports my career.
Right.
We have to change what your type is so to how you're treated and the like natural progression of a relationship versus like the way someone looks.
No, 100. I actually had told him that. I was like, you really did set a new standard and like become a new paradigm of what my type is, because before it was always like, oh, I liked guys that were covered in tattoos. Maybe they rode a motorcycle. Maybe they were like kind of at the, you know, that was always my type.
Yeah.
And now because of him, because what I've learned like from dating him, I'm like, oh no, it's actually somebody who plans like very sweet dates, talks to me and communicates very well in like a very healthy way, someone who I can have a lot of fun with. Like those are all things that just changed from before when I, you know, was like thought that I kind of knew exactly what my type was. And I think that also has to do with just like growing up, being raised in the middle of LA, and like, you know, you kind of just get like, depending on
There's
where
a
you
culture
live,
around.
there's a culture around
There's
it.
a culture around your type.
Yeah.
Specifically the type of guys that you've dated in the past.
Right.
There's a culture around it, which is, there's nothing wrong with the culture.
Yeah.
It's just that it's maybe not necessarily for you anymore.
Yeah. And then I was like, I tell him all the time, I'm like, yeah, I got smart, you know, like really, because they always bring up shit like my exes did. And he's like, who did you used to date? And I'm like,
I could give him a list
yeah,
of people he could look into. And not for any other reason, just to be like, oh, I feel really good about myself today.
We will not be doing that. Okay, but anyway, so I thought we would talk about relationship green flags, because we always hear about red flags. There's so many jokes about what red flags are, but it's like, how do you know that you're in a good place?
Yes. One of those, I think, like, just to start, and it's not necessarily that any of these one things are more important than the other. It's just to start off, like, being self-aware. And if you're not always self-aware, you're open to your partner saying, hey, I noticed that this is happening.
Yes.
Can we work on it? So you may not always be, because I'm not always aware of my flaws and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But self-awareness is important, but being open to your partner saying, hey, you need to be aware of this.
Yeah. And I think something that's so important too is how like the receiver receives that message, right? Because like it's also, if I can talk to somebody and say, hey, listen, like you're coming across this way or whatever, and then they can say, oh, okay, like let me take that into account. Or even if you can just have a discussion where you don't necessarily need to like agree with the other person, you know, because I had an ex that when I would kind of give a different opinion, it was, oh, well, your version of things is a lot of hocus pocus, or your version of things is a lot. And it was like, that's not super fair. You know, like two people can have different perspectives.
When we're two different people. So our life and the way we've lived our lives has been different. So your life experience versus my life experience are going to be very different. Mans and I were having a heated discussion the other day, because we've, you know, after 9 months of being, dating, it's been, you start to get into, okay, now we have to work on things. Like honeymoon phase is still here, but it's very much like, oh, okay, now there's discussions to be had. Yeah. And there are things that like when we have to communicate in a way where we are like, I just disagree with that. It's like, okay, so then how do you deal with that disagreement?
Right.
You don't have to always agree, but how do you deal with the disagreeing topics? Right.
And I think something I always think about too, and I ask myself this often, because I can definitely be a little stubborn, is, you know, do you want the truth, or do you want your bias confirmed? Because that's like something that I think leads arguments, is like, we want to just be right. Like, I just want to, you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Like, and so I think a healthy dynamic, a green flag is having like a healthy room of like, okay, there might be room for me to not be 100% right. You know, that never happens to me just because I'm always right. But for other people, I think other people should have room to have, you know, truth come in.
Okay. Listen, I will tell you, I'm going to be vulnerable, that I very much part of my 98 things, I was like essentially just describing me. And then I realized that like me is not always all that great.
That's so funny.
So I think that potentially maybe you need to take a good look at yourself and think of, okay, maybe there's things I could also.
Yeah, I mean, not much.
Okay.
You know, no, I'm just kidding. There's definitely a lot. And so, but yeah, and I think like having two people that can do that. And also actually him and I were just having this conversation and I was mentioning you because I was saying that something that you always do really well is that if something upsets you, yeah, I know, I'm going to give you a compliment.
Whoa, okay.
Vomit. But something that you always do really well is if something upsets you, at least with me, I obviously haven't been in a disagreement with you and your man, but is you'll be like, hey, you did this and this triggered me, but there's also an element of my own past that's playing a role here. And I just think not that you always need to take responsibility because you don't, but I do think there's a level of self-awareness in that that's like, okay, I'm not necessarily going to fully blame you until we have the conversation so I can see where you're coming from. You know what I mean? Like as opposed to just like throwing like 100% blame, you're in the wrong, because I don't think that that's productive.
No, because the reason why we're triggered by certain things and the reason why certain things upset us is something from our past has happened. Not all times, but there's something from our past that has happened that makes us feel like you're either, that's why you're offended or that's why this hurt your feelings. I've had to say there have been many times that he will do something not knowing that it's going to upset me. It triggers me and it escalates something. And then I do have to go back and say, okay, you did this and I don't want you to do it anymore, but but this is why it's upsetting me.
Yeah.
And so I have to work on that. It's obviously a lot easier with you because we've had 7-8 years of a friendship where there's a level of comfortability that I'm able to go to you and say, hey, this is why. But it is hard. But I think that is, you don't want to gaslight yourself. Yeah. But you also need to take responsibility of like, okay, this is also something though that I can work on and understand where you're coming from so I don't get offended by it anymore.
And I feel like disagreements between somebody you have strong feelings for are just naturally 10 times more intense. Even if it's the same disagreement you're having with a friend, a sibling, whatever, if you have like romantic feelings for somebody, it just feels more intense.
It does.
I don't know why.
Because like you're like, wait, I love you. So this is like a deeper wound.
Yeah.
You've just hit me harder than ever before.
It's like, no, it's not.
Especially with guys, they're like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't mean anything by what I just said.
Right.
But you want a partner who is like, okay, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
So how do we work on this and get past it together as a couple?
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is like moving forward without resentment. That's so important. This is like what's going to determine honestly, it's going to make or break a relationship, in my opinion. Because like two people have to be like, you can't continue to bring up the past. Like if you argue and you have an argument and you solve it, the next time you argue, you can't run that same one back. Like you have to decide. And I used to make that mistake a lot in like my first serious relationship. And I would continue to bring it up. And it's like, it's not fair. Like you have to move past, you have to move forward without resentment. That's the only way you move forward. That's the only way it's productive. Yeah. So I think that would be another green flag.
The other thing that I have was on my 98 list of things.
One day I really would love to see this list.
I actually deleted it.
Oh, wow. Damn.
Threw that one out the door. Went out the window, whatever the saying is, out the door, out the window. Something that was really big for me that I did want in a partner was I didn't want you to ever fix my problems. I wanted you to support me and give me, like, when I was really low, help give me the strength so I could fix it on my own. Because I felt like that was better for our relationship. Yeah. And that's a green flag. Someone who's not going to fix your problems, not going to give you the solution, but is just going to sit there and listen to you vent and say, you can do this. You can go out there and you can be the version of yourself that's going to handle this with grace and power, and that is a huge green flag.
No, I agree with that, because I also think it says I respect you enough to know that I don't have to solve your problems for you.
Because you've got it.
And also the other thing is too, is you can't siphon somebody else's growth. Regardless of the intention. You might love somebody so much that you're like, I just want to solve this for you. But when we go through those things, we grow, and you can't. What are you doing over there?
I'm raising my hand.
Okay.
Because I did that. Okay. Like saying like that was me. Like I and you've told me that many times.
Right.
Like even though we are in a relationship of some kind.
Right.
I've done that with a lot of people
Right.
where the people that I love the most, I'm like, let me fix your problems.
Yeah. And the intention was in the right place.
Of course. I didn't want you to hurt. I didn't want you to feel pain.
Feel anything. And that's the thing with relationships. And I think we see that a lot. I mean, I guess my perspective is skewed because I only have a lot of girlfriends, but I've seen a lot of my girlfriends come in and like do this like mommy thing with their significant other where it's like, let me just, and I'm like, you can't do that. You got to let them fall sometimes because you can't siphon their growth. Yeah. You can't take that moment from them of what they need. And you also have to say, I respect you enough to handle it. And the other thing, this has never happened to me, honestly, in a relationship, I don't think, but this would drive me fucking insane, is if every time I vented to somebody, if they like got stressed out. It's like, no, you don't get to be stressed out. I get to be stressed out. You just have to listen. I just want to vent.
Well, there's a balance. Like, because you want them to get worked up enough with you where you're like, yeah, that's so messed up.
Yeah, you have to be heated.
Yeah, because you don't want them to
really be stressed.
No, like you don't want them to dismiss your feelings. Right. Like, this is not even a big deal. Who cares?
Right.
You want them to feel it with you, but you don't want them to like
take it on.
Yeah. Like you want them to be like, yeah, so you understand. Yeah, that's super wrong that they did that. Yeah. You should say something and you have every right. Like,
right.
So they're like, yeah, someone's in my corner.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I want you to agree. Like, I want you to be in the moment with me and I want you to be heated. But I don't want you to actually, like, I don't want your mood to actually be ruined. Because I can't imagine if I was having a stressful thing and I was down and I told my partner and then they were in a fucking bad mood because of that, I'd be like, no, that's not fair.
No, I agree with you.
Like, you can't do that. But I agree. You have to be heated enough and, like, interested enough. You have to be like, yeah.
And I think where all the things that we just discussed, where they come from, is when your partner has their own life. Mm-hmm. So they have their own stuff going on. Yeah. They have their own job, their own career, their own hobbies, their own interests, their own friends. And not that you're separate from any of that, but like they make you a part of it. But they're like, yeah, that is frustrating. I'm super sorry. This is how, here, let me listen. Let me have you vent. But then you're going to go on with your day because I've got my own stuff going on.
That is the best dynamic. That is the healthiest dynamic. Yes. It is the best dynamic. You have your own life. I have my own. You make yourself happy. I make myself happy. And then we can come together as a team, you know, and hang out. But that is like the most important thing.
But best believe, I really want you to ask me about how it all ended after we talked about it. Like if I vent to you and then I come home at the end of the day, I need you to go, okay, so what happened?
Because you need to want the tea on my life. Like you need to like be dying for the tea.
Yeah. So, you want, like, regardless if it's with another friend, a job, a partner, I want you to say stuff like, okay, so what happened?
Yeah.
So, okay, so
I mean, because I equally want the tea, especially like when it has nothing to do with me. This is like the most top tier form of tea because it's like, wow, call me, give me all the drama, and then I can hang up because it's like this has nothing to do with me, and that is like the best. That is, but my then favorite. It does
show that you remembered what we talked about. You showed interest. You're showing interest in my life,
right?
Like. There's a balance.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. And I think that goes hand in hand. Like, when you get into a new relationship, especially in like the honeymoon phase, it's so easy to like kind of lose your identity. You kind of morph into one because you're so excited. Yeah. And I think a part of that, is keeping your own identity. And it's hard, but it's like you want to keep a little bit of your own life and keep a little bit of your own routine so you can still have you.
And it's so much easier to speak from a place when you're single of like, you need to have boundaries and you need to keep your own schedule. But then your tune changes.
Tell us.
Your tune just changes. And there's a lot of things that like I'm much more relaxed about now. And he might beg to differ, but I'm much more relaxed than I used to be. And there's things that I'm just like, yeah, I thought that was important. Yeah. It's just not to me anymore.
Right.
So
no, that's so true. And I think too, we talked about this last night. It's like, because obviously like, okay, like one thing that's like so common of a healthy relationship is you eat a lot because you're like cozy and you just want to go to dinner and you want to drink wine, you want to get dessert. And I was like freaking out for the longest because I'm like, all we're doing is eating. And then I was
sitting.
And sitting. A lot of just sitting. Wine, dessert, Postmates, dinner, all of that.
And Mans is in great shape.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, we're going to the gym all the time.
Yeah.
No, he's gotten lazy too.
Yeah, but that's what happens.
And it's like it's hard because it's like, do we want to go to the gym? Or do we want to watch Lord of the Rings and eat yummy snacks?
Yeah. I don't watch Lord of the Rings, but like I got your gist.
Well,
I picked up
we do
on
a
what
lot.
you were putting down.
Yeah.
I got that.
Okay.
No, but it's so true. Like, and so that's another thing that I've been, but you know what? The flip side of that, because I was panicked. I was like, oh my God, my jeans are
I've been too
tight. But the other part of that is like, you want to enjoy that phase because everything has its season.
I like this. You said this last night when we were at dinner. You said, I'm trying to enjoy the season in which our relationship is at. And I really like that because Mans is over here like, I think you look super hot. Who cares? Who cares if your
and you want to enjoy this phase because this is like the newness of it. This is like the cozy, this is like so exciting. It's like the most fun time.
I thought that was the greatest way to put that because you're right. You do need to enjoy this. And then I texted him the other day. I said, we are no longer allowed to miss gym days. And if you don't want to go, that's fine. But I'm leaving you in the dust.
But see, and then now you're in that season, but like, it's like, it's like enjoying all the different moments. So I've been trying to relax myself. Cause even like I used to be up super early and I am not up that early anymore.
Yeah, no, we know. Cause you were bragging about your
5:30. And then, so now, but it's like, oh, it's cold and we're cozy and like whatever. And so I'm just trying to be like, okay, I'm just enjoying the season of it. I'm enjoying it for what it is. And then, when I need to get back on.
And when the time comes, I need to work out. And then, but it's like, I work all day and then I kind of want to hang out with you and watch movies.
Yeah, no, I know. It's so funny how it really is. Cause I was the same. I was also the bitch that it could never be. And then it was like, turns out you're the bitch that it could be. It's always the plot twist.
Yeah. I am her. She is me.
Yeah. So anyway, so those are my quick thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for like green flags. But I want to like stress to people. I notice a lot in life, and this goes across the board for all things. We focus on a lot of negativity. And we talked about this last week. We focus on like how men are better than us in business. And we focus on so much negative and the differences. And I think at least in here in this area of our life, but really in all areas, we should be focusing on like the really positive things because then more positive stuff comes up.
Totally.
So when you're like, wow, this person has a lot of green flags. I'm not saying don't ignore the red flags, but just be aware that there are really good people. There are really good men in this world. Whether you're attracted to them or not, if you have a friendship with them, at least you're seeing good qualities in people.
Yeah, I mean, you choose your perspective.
Yeah. So that was why we kind of talked about this last night of like, man, everyone's like harping on all the negative shit, negative. All we see is like the negativity with men and business and women and dating and yada, yada, yada. But let's focus on like the really good things that our partners have.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I like that.
And I think there's a lot of partners out there who have green flags, and let's like celebrate those and focus on those so that we know how to pick those up instead of just noticing the red ones.
Yeah, I like that. Wow. Snap. I don't know if I can snap. Oh, I can snap, but I can only snap with this hand. I can't snap with this hand.
You can practice.
I don't know. I can do it with this hand.
Okay.
Can you whistle? I can't whistle.
I did it.
Can you wink?
I just did like a low one because Soben's over there being like, you just whistled in my ear, and that was really high. So yeah, we'll just keep that really low. I can whistle.
Can you wink? I can't wink or whistle. I can't do either of those. Okay, I mean, whoa, that was a lot of winking.
You guys watch the visual on that one because whoa, people are like, she shouldn't wink actually.
Okay, what is the sexiest thing to you this week?
Man's just cut his hair, and so it's like extra curly right now, and I'm like very much here for like the red/orange curly hair.
Wow.
Like I love it.
She's in love.
Like when
She's in love.
He sent me a picture today. He goes, look how curly my hair looks. I was like, oh, yeah. I love it. Yeah. I usually send him a thing back that says nom nom.
That's funny actually. Nom nom. Okay, cute. That's your thing.
Okay, what's your sexy?
Okay, so he is an artist, and so I've been in the studio with him a little bit here and there, and so it's honestly just like watching somebody work. I mean, not somebody, like obviously him, but like watching him work, watching somebody who has talent just in their zone, in their flow, in their element, I think is really fire. And I think it's like, because I think also when you're good at something, you know, then
well, the
it's
passion
like,
comes out, and then you're like,
out,
whoa.
But like you kind of have to be good at it, because if he was like a shitty artist, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be hot, you know.
Oh.
It's only hot because he's really good at his job.
So even if you're
like,
passionate and you suck, still a turn off.
Well, just like how awkward would it be if it's like you have to hear it and it's like, yeah, there's no flow. But no,
Yikes.
he's really good at his job and very talented, and so like just being in the studio, I'm like, oh, I love this. This is like so fire. This is such a cool experience. So that is mine for this week.
Okay, I like it. Good
All
one.
right. Well.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please rate, review, subscribe. We are crushing it on YouTube with our 100 subscribers, so you should also go subscribe. And also post anything that we post to your Instagram. Like, yes, just please. Make our Instagram your Instagram.
Yes. Oh my God. Resharing helps us a lot. On Instagram, we are Smart is Sexy, same as YouTube. And on TikTok, we're Smart is Sexy by KCH. And we'll be back next week. Thanks, guys.